The toaster was broken, not just old or outdated, actually broken. The cord was frayed, the heating elements were rusted, and when I plugged it in later that night, it sparked and died with a pathetic wheeze. My wedding gift from my parents, a literal piece of junk they probably found in their garage. My name is Hallie, and I should probably start by saying I'm not usually the type to hold grudges. I'm a graphic designer. I do yoga on weekends. I rescue stray cats. I'm what most people would call nice. But standing in my kitchen at midnight on my wedding day, staring at that broken toaster while my new husband Bodie slept peacefully upstairs, something inside me finally snapped. It's the thought that counts, I said earlier, forcing a smile as I unwrapped it in front of our guests. Mom had beamed like she'd given me the crown jewels. We only give practical gifts, she'd announced to the room. Hallie understands that. Practical, right. A toaster that could have burned down my apartment. The real kicker came a month later at Sunday dinner. I was helping Mom clear the table when she and Dad exchanged one of those looks, the kind that meant they had news, big news. Girls, Dad said, his voice thick with emotion, your mother and I have something to tell you. Jordan looked up from her phone, finally interested. My younger sister had this way of commanding attention without even trying. Golden hair that caught the light just right, perfect skin, the kind of smile that made strangers want to help her carry her groceries. We've been saving, Mom continued, her eyes actually welling up with tears, for something really special. I felt a flutter of hope. Maybe they'd finally noticed how hard I'd been working, how I'd paid for my own wedding while We're paying for Jordan's wedding, Dad burst out, unable to contain himself. The whole thing! $50,000! The room erupted. Jordan screamed and launched herself into their arms. Mom was crying happy tears. Dad was laughing and spinning Jordan around like she was 5 years old again. I stood there holding a stack of dirty plates, watching my family celebrate the fact that my sister, who wasn't even engaged yet, would get the fairy tale wedding I dreamed of my entire life. Isn't that wonderful, Hallie? Mom asked, finally remembering I existed. Wonderful, I managed, my voice steady despite the fact that my world was tilting sideways. I mean, you understand, Jordan said, not even looking at me. Your wedding was so simple, but I've always dreamed of something bigger. Simple. My wedding had been simple because I paid for it myself. Because when I'd asked for help, Dad had patted my shoulder and said, character building, sweetheart. You'll appreciate it more if you earn it. Apparently, character building was only required for the older daughter. Of course I understand, I said, setting the plates down carefully. I'm so happy for you. And I was. Happy that the mask was finally off. Happy that I could stop pretending we were a normal family where love was distributed equally. Happy that I finally had clarity about exactly where I stood. That night, Bodie found me in our home office, laptop open, fingers flying across the keyboard. What are you working on? He asked, settling his hands on my shoulders. Just organizing some old files, I said, clicking save on the folder I'd just created. The label read Karma in neat professional font. You okay? You've been quiet since dinner. I leaned back against his chest, feeling the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. Bodie was the only person who'd ever made me feel like I mattered, like I was worth choosing first. I'm perfect, I said, and for the first time in years, I meant it. 3 weeks later, Jordan called with breathless excitement. Vincent had proposed. The engagement party was in 2 months, and here was the kicker. She wanted me to give a speech. You're so good with words, she gushed, and you know me better than anyone. It would mean so much to have my big sister say something beautiful about love and family. I agreed immediately. Of course I did. They thought I'd be grateful to give a speech at her engagement party, grateful for the chance to celebrate the golden child one more time. So I gave them a show they'd never forget. I was 7 when I realized I was the practice daughter. It happened during what Mom called the Great Report Card Incident of 2003. I brought home straight A's, my first perfect report card ever. I was so excited I practically vibrated through dinner, waiting for the right moment to share my news. Mom, Dad, look what I got, I'd announce, sliding the paper across the table with shaking hands. Mom glanced at it while cutting Jordan's chicken into smaller pieces. That's nice, honey. Make sure you keep working hard. That's nice. 4 months of staying up late, missing playground time, begging my teacher for extra credit, and I got, that's nice. Fast forward 3 years. Jordan, age 8, brings home her first report card with all A's and one B plus. Oh my God, Mom shrieked, actually shrieked, snatching the paper like it was made of gold. Carl, get the camera. We're going to Dairy Queen. This is incredible. They framed it. It's still hanging in their hallway. But the real kicker? The thing that made me understand exactly how this family worked, that happened when I was 16. I'd been working on this art piece for months, a mixed media collage about environmental destruction. It was for a statewide contest, and I poured everything into it. Stayed up until 2 a.m. most nights, skipped parties, turned down dates. When I won first place in a $500 scholarship, I thought maybe, finally, they'd see me. I won, I announced at dinner, holding up the certificate and check. Won what? Dad asked, not looking up from his phone. The art contest, the big one I've been working on for months. I got first place in the whole state. Oh, that's wonderful, sweetie, Mom said, but she was already turning to Jordan. Speaking of achievements, tell your sister about your chemistry test. Jordan beamed. I got a B plus, and Mr. Peterson said I showed real improvement. We're so proud, Mom gushed. You've been working so hard. Maybe we should celebrate with ice cream. I sat there holding my first place certificate while they planned a celebration for Jordan's B plus. That night I called Eliana. We'd been roommates freshman year of college, and she was the first person who'd ever made me feel like I wasn't crazy for noticing these things. They didn't even ask to see the piece, I told her, curled up on my dorm room bed. Are you kidding me? Eliana's voice was sharp with indignation. Hallie, that's insane. You won a state competition. It's fine, I'm used to it. No, it's not fine, and you shouldn't be used to it. But I was. I was used to being the trial run, the rough draft, the prototype they perfected before Jordan came along. Every mistake I made became a lesson for how to raise her better. Every success I achieved was just proof their system worked. When I got caught sneaking out at 17, I was grounded for 2 months and had to write a 5-page essay about trust and responsibility. When Jordan got caught doing the same thing at 15, Mom sat her down for a heart-to-heart about making smart choices and being safe. She's more mature than you were at that age, Mom explained when I pointed out the double standard. She just needs guidance, not punishment. When I struggled with math and asked for a tutor, Dad said, you need to learn to work through challenges on your own. It builds character. When Jordan struggled with the same subject 2 years later, they hired the most expensive tutor in town and bought her a new laptop to help with her studies. The pattern was so consistent it was almost funny. Almost. The worst part wasn't even the favoritism. It was how they made me complicit in it. How they expected me to be grateful for the scraps, to celebrate Jordan's victories like they were my own, to smile and nod when they explained why she deserved more. You're the older sister, Mom would say whenever I showed even a hint of resentment. You should be setting an example. So I did. I set the example of the daughter who never complained, never demanded attention, never made waves. The daughter who was grateful for broken toasters, and that's nice, responses to major achievements. I was 28 years old before I realized I didn't have to be grateful anymore. You know what you need to do, Eliana said during our video call the night after Jordan's engagement announcement. She was in her apartment in Portland, coffee mug in hand, giving me the look that meant business. What's that? You got receipts, right? All those years of this crap? You documented some of it? I smiled, sliding open my laptop. The Karma folder was already pulled up, organized by year and category. Screenshots, photos, saved voicemails, even some old diary entries I'd scanned. Oh, I've got receipts. Show me everything, Eliana said, leaning forward on the video call like she was about to watch the most important movie of her life. I clicked through the folders, years of documentation, organized like the world's most depressing filing system, screenshots of text conversations where Mom gushed about Jordan's natural talent while dismissing my actual accomplishments. Photos of birthday parties where Jordan's cake was a 3-tier masterpiece and mine was store-bought. Voice memos I recorded after particularly brutal family dinners just to prove to myself I wasn't imagining things. Jesus, Hallie, Eliana breathed. This is a lot. 21 years of being the practice daughter, I said, clicking to a new folder. But this isn't even the good stuff. There's more? I pulled up a folder labeled Shared Devices and grinned. Remember how Mom insisted we all share the family iPad for togetherness? Well, Jordan never figured out how to properly log out of her accounts. Eliana's eyes widened. You have access to her messages? Had past tense. I stopped looking after I found what I needed. I clicked on a subfolder, but not before I found these. The first screenshot filled my screen, a group chat between Jordan and her friends from last year, right around the time Grandma Nora had started getting sick. Jordan, guys, I'm literally about to inherit so much money. Kinley, wait, what happened? Jordan, Grandma's getting all confused and sentimental, keeps talking about making sure her girls are taken care of. Kinley, that's kind of sad, though. Jordan, sad but profitable, LOL. I've been visiting like every day, really laying on the you're my favorite grandma stuff. Oh my God, Eliana whispered. Keep reading, I said, scrolling to the next screenshot. Jordan, success. Got her to write me a check for $15K for college expenses. Kinley, that's Jordan. That seems like a lot. Jordan, she's loaded and she's losing it anyway. Might as well enjoy the early inheritance. Random friend. Wait, is this legal? Jordan, it's not illegal to accept gifts from family, and it's not like she'll remember anyway. Eliana was quiet for a long moment. Hallie, this is elder abuse. It gets worse. I scrolled to messages from 2 months ago, right before Grandma Nora died. Jordan, she's asking about the money again. Keeps saying she thought it was a loan. Kinley, maybe you should pay some back. Jordan, with what money? I already spent it on the engagement ring fund and that trip to Cabo. Jordan, besides, she's getting worse. Yesterday she asked me who I was 3 times. Kinley, Jordan, what? I'm not doing anything wrong. She gave me the money. I have the checks to prove it. Jordan, and honestly, I'm doing her a favor. At least this way someone in the family benefits before she blows it all on medical bills. I scrolled to the final screenshot, dated just 2 weeks before Grandma Nora passed away. Jordan, got another $8K today. Told her I needed help with wedding expenses and she just melted. Jordan, old Nora's got no clue I cleaned her out. Might as well enjoy the early inheritance. Kinley. This doesn't feel right. Jordan. Kinley, relax. She's happy to help her favorite granddaughter, and I'm happy to let her. Jordan. Win-win. Eliana was staring at the screen in horror. How much did she take? Based on these messages and some bank records I found, at least $30,000 over 6 months. I closed the screenshots. Money that was supposed to help with Grandma's medical care, money that could have paid for better treatment, a nicer facility, actual comfort in her final months. And your parents don't know? Are you kidding? Jordan's the golden child. She could rob a bank and they'd find a way to blame the bank. I leaned back in my chair. Besides, she was smart about it. Small amounts, spread out over time, always with a sob story about college or the wedding. What are you going to do with this? I smiled, the same smile I'd given Mom when she announced Jordan's wedding fund. I'm going to flip the mirror. What does that mean? It means everyone's going to see exactly who Jordan really is. Not the perfect daughter, not the golden child, not the sweet girl who deserves everything handed to her. I started organizing the screenshots into a new folder. They're going to see a woman who manipulated a sick old lady out of her life savings. Eliana was quiet for a moment. Hallie, this is nuclear. This will destroy her. Good. I mean it. This won't just embarrass her. This could ruin her relationship, her reputation, everything. I looked at my friend through the screen, this woman who'd been my anchor through years of family dysfunction, who'd validated my experiences when I thought I was going crazy. Eliana, she stole from our dying grandmother. She bragged about it. She called it cleaning her out like Grandma was some kind of mark. My voice was steady, calm. I'm not destroying Jordan. I'm just making sure everyone sees what she destroyed first. Eliana nodded slowly. Okay. What do you need me to do? Help me build a slideshow. Something that tells a story clearly, chronologically, professional looking. I opened PowerPoint. I want this to look like a presentation, not a revenge plot. When's the engagement party? 3 weeks. That's not much time. It's enough. I clicked to a new slide and started typing. They want me to give a speech about love and family. I'll give them exactly that. The knock on my door came at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday, exactly 1 week before the engagement party. I knew it was Jordan before I even looked through the peephole. She had this particular way of knocking, like she was doing you a favor by gracing your door with her presence. Surprise, she sang when I opened it, holding up a bottle of champagne and a box of macarons. I thought we could have some sister bonding time before the big day. She pushed past me into the apartment, her heels clicking on the hardwood floor. I watched her take in the space, our modest living room with its thrift store furniture and DIY art on the walls. This is so cozy, she said, setting her gifts on the coffee table. Very you. Thanks. I closed the door and followed her to the kitchen where she was already opening cabinets like she owned the place. Do you have proper champagne flutes? These look like they came from Target. They did come from Target. Oh. She paused, clearly trying to figure out how to respond without sounding completely awful. Well, they're functional. I poured the champagne into my Target glasses and handed her one. What's the occasion? Can a sister visit her sister? She settled onto my couch, crossing her legs elegantly. Besides, I wanted to talk about the speech. I'm so excited to hear what you've prepared. It's coming along. I was thinking you could maybe mention how I've always been there for you, like when you were going through that weird phase in high school with the black clothes and the poetry. You mean when I was depressed? Write that. And how I helped you through it by encouraging you to be more social. She took a sip of champagne. Oh, and definitely mention how proud you are of Vincent and me. He's such a catch. Harvard MBA, family money, that house in the Hamptons. I nodded, making mental notes. Anything else? Maybe something about how our family has always been so close, how we've supported each other through everything. She gestured around the apartment. I mean, look at you now, your own place, a husband who adores you, that little design business. You've really made something of yourself. That little design business pays my rent. I know that's what I mean. You're so resourceful. She leaned forward conspiratorially. Between you and me, I don't know how you do it. Living on such a tight budget, making everything work with so little, I'd probably have a breakdown. It's not that tight. Oh, come on. I saw your wedding photos. That dress was beautiful, but I could tell it wasn't designer, and the venue was sweet, but she shrugged. I'm just saying, I admire how you make the best of things. I took a long sip of champagne, feeling the familiar burn of humiliation mixed with something new, anticipation. Speaking of the wedding, Jordan continued, Mom mentioned you seemed a little upset about the toaster. I told her you were probably just overwhelmed with everything. The toaster was broken. Was it? I'm sure they didn't realize. You know how practical they are. She waved her hand dismissively. Anyway, I wanted to make sure there were no hard feelings. I know it might seem unfair that they're paying for my wedding, but you have to understand, your situation is different. How so? Well, you're already married. You've had your moment. And honestly, your wedding was perfect for what it was. Small, intimate, budget friendly. She smiled like she was complimenting me. But I've been dreaming of this day since I was little. The dress, the flowers, the venue by the water. Mom and Dad know how important it is to me. And it wasn't important to me? Jordan's smile faltered slightly. Of course it was. But you're more practical. You understand that sometimes sacrifices have to be made for the greater good? I set down my glass. What greater good? Family harmony, not making waves, being the bigger person. She reached over and patted my hand. You've always been so good at that. It's one of your best qualities. My phone buzzed with a text from Eliana. Slide, show is ready. You sure about this? I typed back. Never been more sure of anything. Who's that? Jordan asked, trying to peek at my phone. Just work stuff. I slipped the phone into my pocket. So tell me about the speech logistics. Will there be a microphone? A projector? Oh, yes, Vincent's handling all the tech stuff. He's setting up a whole presentation system for toasts and speeches. Why? Just want to make sure I'm prepared. I might have some photos to share. Photos? Her voice sharpened slightly. What kind of photos? Just family memories, nothing too embarrassing. I smiled. You know how much I love documenting our family moments. Something flickered across her face, uncertainty, maybe even fear, but it was gone so quickly I almost missed it. Right, well, just keep it light, okay? This is supposed to be a celebration. Of course, love and family, right? That's what you wanted. She finished her champagne and stood up. I should go. Vincent's taken me to look at wedding venues upstate. Another venue? I thought you already booked the country club. We did, but I want to see all our options. This is a once-in-a-lifetime event. She paused at the door. You understand? After she left, I pulled out my phone and called Eliana. How did it go? She asked. She's scared. She doesn't know what, but she's scared. Good. She should be. That night, I got a text from Mom. Jordan mentioned you might be including photos in your speech. Just remember, this is her special day. Keep it appropriate. I stared at the message for a long moment, then typed back. Don't worry. Everyone will see exactly who she really is. That's what I'm afraid of, came the reply. I smiled and turned off my phone. Too late for fear now. The Seaside Country Club was exactly what you'd expect for a $50,000 engagement party. Twinkling lights strung between palm trees, white linens that probably cost more than my monthly rent, and a view of the harbor that made everyone pull out their phones for Instagram shots. I stood at the edge of the crowd, watching Jordan work the room in a flowing white dress that caught the golden hour light perfectly. She looked like a princess, which I suppose had always been the point. "You clean up nice," Bodie said, adjusting his tie as he joined me. He'd insisted on wearing his best suit, the one from our wedding. "You ready for this?" "As ready as I'll ever be." Eliana appeared at my elbow, laptop bag slung over her shoulder. Tech check went perfectly. Vincent's got a great setup. Wireless presenter remote, crystal clear projection, surround sound. She grinned. "Your audience is going to see and hear everything." "Where's the laptop?" "Hidden behind the bar. I'll cue it up when you give me the signal." Vincent clinked his champagne glass with a fork, calling for attention. The crowd of about 60 people, family, friends, colleagues, gradually quieted and turned toward the small stage area where a microphone waited. "Thank you all for being here tonight," Vincent began, his voice carrying easily across the patio. "Jordan and I are overwhelmed by the love and support you've shown us." He was handsome in that effortless way rich people often are. Perfect teeth, perfect hair, perfect confidence that the world would always bend to accommodate him. I almost felt sorry for him. "Before we continue the celebration, we have a very special treat. Jordan's sister Hallie has prepared a speech for us." He gestured toward me with a warm smile. "Hallie is not only a talented graphic designer, but she's also the beautiful, brave older sister who helped shape the incredible woman I fell in love with." The crowd applauded as I made my way to the microphone. I could see my parents at a front table, Mom beaming with pride, Dad raising his glass in encouragement. Jordan stood beside Vincent, glowing with anticipation. "Thank you, Vincent, and thank you all for being here tonight." I adjusted the microphone, my voice steady and clear. "When Jordan asked me to speak tonight, she said she wanted me to talk about love and family, about the bonds that shape us and the truth that connects us." More applause. I caught Eliana's eye and nodded slightly. She slipped away toward the bar. I've known Jordan her entire life, obviously. I was there when she took her first steps, said her first words, had her first heartbreak. I smiled at the crowd. I've watched her grow into the woman she is today, and I've learned so much about family along the way. I clicked the presenter remote. The first slide appeared on the large screen behind me, a sweet photo of Jordan and me as kids, building a sandcastle at the beach. This is us at ages 5 and 8. Look how happy we were, how innocent. The crowd made appreciative sounds. But as we grew up, I started to notice something interesting about my sister. She had this incredible ability to get what she wanted. Click. Next slide. A photo of Jordan's elaborate Sweet 16 party, complete with a live band and professional photographer. Jordan has always been special. Our parents recognized that early on. They invested in her dreams, her talents, her future. I paused, letting that sink in. They understood that some people are just worth more. A few people shifted uncomfortably, but most were still smiling, assuming this was building to something heartwarming. But tonight isn't just about celebrating Jordan's engagement. It's about celebrating honesty, about truth, about the kind of love that sees people clearly and chooses them anyway. I clicked again. The slide changed to a screenshot of a text conversation, blown up large enough for everyone to read clearly. "I guess it's appropriate we're here to celebrate honesty and love, two things that might have saved our grandmother her life savings." The first screenshot filled the screen. "Guys, I'm literally about to inherit so much money." A gasp rippled through the crowd. I saw Vincent's face change, confusion replacing his confident smile. Jordan took a step forward, her mouth opening in shock. This is a conversation between Jordan and her friends from last year when our grandmother Nora was getting sick. My voice remained calm, conversational. Grandma Nora, who raised us every summer, who taught us to bake cookies and told us stories about the old country, who trusted us. Click. Next screenshot. Grandma's getting all confused and sentimental, keeps talking about making sure her girls are taken care of. Jordan saw an opportunity in Grandma's illness, a chance to, as she put it, enjoy the early inheritance. The crowd was dead silent now. I could see people leaning forward, reading the messages, their faces shifting from confusion to horror. Click. Got her to write me a check for $15K for college expenses. $15,000 for college expenses. Except Jordan graduated 3 years ago. Vincent was staring at the screen, his face pale. Jordan was shaking her head frantically, mouthing, "No, no, no." Click. She's loaded and she's losing it anyway. Might as well enjoy the early inheritance. My grandmother wasn't losing it. She was dying, and she trusted her granddaughter to help her, not rob her. Mom stood up from her table, her face white with shock. "Hallie, stop this right now." I looked at her calmly. "I'm just getting started." Click. The next screenshot appeared. "Old Nora's got no clue I cleaned her out. Might as well enjoy the early inheritance." Someone in the crowd gasped audibly. Vincent took a step back from Jordan, staring at her like he'd never seen her before. "This message was sent 2 weeks before our grandmother died," I continued, my voice carrying clearly across the silent patio. 2 weeks before she passed away in a state facility because the family couldn't afford the private care she deserved. "Hallie, please." Jordan's voice cracked as she moved toward the microphone. "Please what? Please stop telling the truth." I clicked again. Another screenshot filled the screen. "Got another 8K today. Told her I needed help with wedding expenses and she just melted." The crowd was shifting uncomfortably now. I could see people whispering to each other, phones coming out to take pictures of the screen. $8,000 for wedding expenses, for a wedding that hadn't even been planned yet, to a man she hadn't even met. I looked directly at Vincent. "Did you know your engagement ring was paid for with money stolen from a dying woman?" Vincent's face went ashen. "What are you talking about?" "Ask her." I clicked to the next slide. I already spent it on the engagement ring fund and that trip to Cabo. Jordan lunged for the microphone. "This is fake. She's making this up." I stepped back, keeping the remote out of her reach. "Am I? Kinley, you're here tonight, right? Jordan's maid of honor?" All eyes turned to Kinley, who was standing frozen near the bar, her face bright red. I don't. You were in these group chats, Kinley. You remember these conversations, don't you?" Kinley's mouth opened and closed like a fish. Finally, in a voice barely above a whisper, she said, I remember some of these messages. You sent them to me, Jordan." The crowd erupted in murmurs. Vincent turned to stare at Jordan, his face a mask of disgust and disbelief. "Vincent, baby, I can explain." Jordan reached for him, but he stepped away. "Explain what? That you stole from your dying grandmother?" "It wasn't stealing. She gave me the money willingly." I clicked again. The final screenshot appeared. "She's happy to help her favorite granddaughter, and I'm happy to let her." $30,000? I said, my voice cutting through the chaos. "That's how much Jordan took from our grandmother over 6 months. Money that was supposed to help with medical bills. Money that could have paid for better care, more comfortable final months." Dad stood up from his table, his face red with anger. "Hallie, that's enough." "Is it, Dad? Is it enough that your golden child manipulated a sick old woman out of her life savings? Is it enough that she bragged about it to her friends? You're taking this out of context, Mom shouted, but her voice was shaking. What context makes this okay? I clicked back to an earlier slide. It's not like she'll remember anyway. The crowd was buzzing now, people talking over each other, some standing up to get a better look at the screen. I could see Vincent's parents near the back, their faces horrified. She won't remember anyway, I repeated. That's what Jordan said about our grandmother, the woman who taught us to ride bikes and made us Halloween costumes and never missed a single birthday. Jordan was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. You don't understand. I needed that money. The wedding, the dress, everything was so expensive. So you stole it from Grandma Nora. I didn't steal anything. She wanted to help me. I clicked to a screenshot I'd saved for last. Yesterday she asked me who I was 3 times. She asked who you were, Jordan. She was confused and scared and dying, and you saw dollar signs. Vincent was backing away from Jordan like she was radioactive. I can't believe this. How could you do this to your own grandmother? Vincent, please, let me explain. Explain what? That you're a thief? That you manipulated a dying woman? His voice was rising, attracting even more attention. That our entire relationship is built on stolen money? It's not like that. Then what is it like? He turned to address the crowd, his voice carrying across the patio. Can someone please explain to me what this is like? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like I'm engaged to someone who robbed her own grandmother. The silence that followed was deafening. Even the ocean seemed to have stopped making noise. Jordan looked around desperately, searching for support, for someone to defend her, but the faces staring back at her were filled with shock, disgust, and disappointment. This is all lies, she screamed suddenly, her composure completely shattered. She's jealous. She's always been jealous of me. She can't stand that I'm happy. I looked at her calmly. I'm not the one who wrote those messages, Jordan. I'm not the one who took that money. I'm just the one who finally decided to tell the truth. Vincent pulled the engagement ring from his pocket. He must have been planning to show it off during his own speech and set it on the nearest table with a sharp click. We're done, he said quietly, but his voice carried across the silent crowd. We're completely done. He walked away, his parents following quickly behind him. The crowd began to murmur again, louder this time, as the reality of what they'd witnessed began to sink in. Jordan stood there in her white dress, tears streaming down her face, looking around at the wreckage of her perfect evening. You ruined everything, she whispered. I clicked off the presentation and set down the microphone. No, Jordan, you did. Dad rushed to the microphone, his face flushed and panicked. Everyone, please, let's calm down. This is clearly some kind of misunderstanding. The crowd wasn't buying it. People were pulling out phones, taking pictures, whispering urgently to each other. A few guests were already heading for the exit. There's no misunderstanding here, I said, my voice carrying without the microphone. Those are real messages from Jordan's phone, real conversations about real money stolen from our real grandmother. Mom appeared at Dad's side, her perfectly applied makeup streaked with tears. Hallie, how could you do this? At her engagement party, in front of everyone? The same way Jordan could steal from a dying woman, I guess. We all have our talents. This is just a family disagreement, Dad announced to the crowd, his voice artificially cheerful. You know how siblings can be. Sometimes old rivalries. $30,000 isn't a rivalry, Dad. It's theft. Jordan was still standing frozen in the center of the patio, guests giving her a wide berth like she was contagious. Her white dress, so perfect an hour ago, now looked like a costume from a play that had gone horribly wrong. You want to know about family? I picked up the microphone again. The crowd, which had been slowly dispersing, stopped to listen. Let me tell you about family. Mom lunged for the microphone. Hallie, don't! I stepped back, keeping it out of her reach. Let me tell you about being invisible for 28 years, about watching your parents give your sister everything while you got broken toasters, and that's nice responses to major achievements. The crowd was riveted now, sensing this was about more than just the stolen money. Let me tell you about paying for your own wedding while your parents saved $50,000 for the golden child, about being told you should be grateful for scraps while she gets a feast. Stop it, Mom hissed. You're embarrassing the family. I'm embarrassing the family? I laughed, and it came out sharper than I intended. Mom, your daughter robbed her own grandmother. I think the family embarrassed itself. That's not what happened. Jordan finally found her voice, stepping forward with mascara-stained cheeks. Grandma wanted to help me. She loved me. She loved both of us, but you were the only one who turned that love into a bank account. You don't understand the pressure I was under. The wedding, Vincent's family, everyone expecting perfection. So you stole from Grandma Nora. I borrowed from her. Borrowed. I pulled out my phone and scrolled to another screenshot. You told Kinley, and I quote, it's not like she'll remember anyway. That's not borrowing, Jordan. That's taking advantage of dementia. Vincent's voice cut through the chaos from near the parking lot. I can't believe I almost married a thief. He was talking to his parents, but his voice carried across the patio. Thank God we found out now. Jordan whirled around. Vincent, wait, please. But he was already getting into his car, his parents close behind. The sound of engines starting filled the air as more guests began to leave. Look what you've done, Mom said, her voice breaking. You've destroyed everything. Her engagement, her reputation, her future. I didn't destroy anything. I just held up a mirror. You're jealous, Dad said suddenly, his voice harder than I'd ever heard it. You've always been jealous of Jordan, and now you found a way to hurt her. Jealous? I looked at him with genuine surprise. Dad, I'm not jealous. I'm free. Free from what? Free from pretending this is normal. Free from being grateful for being treated like garbage. Free from protecting a family that never protected me. The remaining guests were watching like this was the most compelling reality show they'd ever seen. Phones were definitely recording now. We protected you, Mom said desperately. We raised you. We loved you. You raised me to be invisible. You loved me conditionally, and you taught me that my worth was measured by how little I demanded. I looked around at the wreckage of the perfect party. Overturned chairs, abandoned champagne glasses, the engagement ring still sitting on the table where Vincent had left it. But you know what? I'm done being invisible. I'm done being grateful for broken toasters while she gets $50,000 weddings. I'm done pretending that stealing from dying grandmothers is just a family disagreement. Jordan was sobbing now, her perfect composure completely shattered. I hate you. I hate you so much. I know you do. You've hated me since the day you realized I existed. I set the microphone back on its stand. But at least now everyone knows who you really are. I walked over to Eliana, who was standing by the bar with my laptop bag, her eyes wide with shock at how thoroughly everything had imploded. Ready to go? I asked. She nodded, still speechless. As we headed toward the exit, I heard Dad calling after me. Hallie, wait. We need to talk about this. I turned back one last time, looking at my family standing in the ruins of their perfect evening. No more broken toasters, I said quietly into the microphone, my words carrying across the silent patio. Then I walked away. The fallout was swift and brutal. By Tuesday morning, 3 days after the engagement party, my phone had 17 missed calls from Mom and 43 text messages ranging from desperate pleas to outright threats. I deleted them all without reading past the first few words. Bodie found me in the kitchen, staring at my coffee like it held the answers to the universe. Vincent's lawyer called, he said gently. He wants to know if you have any other documentation about the money Jordan took. Why? He's considering pressing charges. Apparently, his family is horrified that their son almost married someone who committed elder abuse. I nodded. It felt surreal, hearing it put in legal terms. What did you tell him? That he should call you directly if he wants to discuss it. Bodie sat down across from me. How are you feeling? Honestly, lighter. Like I've been holding my breath for 28 years and I can finally exhale. The doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw Dad standing on our front step, looking older than I'd ever seen him. Hallie, please, we need to talk. I opened the door but didn't invite him in. What's there to talk about? Your sister is devastated. She's been crying for 3 days straight. She won't eat, won't leave her room. Maybe she should have thought about that before she robbed Grandma Nora. She made a mistake. $30,000 isn't a mistake, Dad. It's a crime. He ran his hands through his hair, a gesture I remembered from childhood when he was trying to avoid taking sides. Your mother thinks. We think maybe you could call Vincent. Explain that Jordan was just confused, that she didn't mean. Mean what? To steal from a dying woman? To brag about it to her friends? I stepped back. Dad, I'm not cleaning up her mess this time. This time? His voice cracked. Hallie, what are you talking about? Every time, every single time she screwed up, I was expected to smooth it over, to be understanding, to make it okay. I looked at this man who had raised me, who taught me to ride a bike and helped with homework, who'd also stood by while I was treated like a second-class citizen in my own family. I'm done. She's your sister. And I was her sister when she was stealing from our grandmother. Didn't seem to matter then. Dad's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and his face went pale. The story's online. Someone posted a video from the party. Good. Good? Hallie, this is going to follow her forever. Her career, her relationships. Like being the invisible daughter followed me. He stared at me like I was a stranger. Maybe I was. I have a voicemail for you, I said, pulling out my phone. From yesterday. I played it on speaker. Dad's voice filled the space between us. Hallie, it's Dad. I've been thinking about what you said at the party, about the toaster, about how we treated you. Maybe we messed up. Maybe we messed up a lot. Call me back. He looked stricken, hearing his own words played back to him. You did mess up, I said quietly. For 28 years, you messed up. And now you want me to fix it by covering for Jordan again. What do you want from us? Nothing. I don't want anything from you anymore. He left without another word. That afternoon, Eliana came over with takeout and wine. We sat on my couch eating pad thai and watching the video someone had posted of the engagement party disaster. It had already been viewed over 1 million times. Any regrets? She asked. About exposing Jordan? No. I scrolled through the comments. Most were supportive, calling Jordan out for elder abuse, praising me for standing up to family favoritism. About the family? Also no. Even if they never speak to you again? Especially if they never speak to me again. My phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Is this Hallie? This is Margaret, Vincent's mother. I wanted to thank you. I sat up straighter. Thank me? For saving my son from making the biggest mistake of his life. We had no idea what kind of person Jordan really was. I'm sorry it happened at your party. Don't be. Better to find out now than after the wedding. She paused. I also wanted you to know we're setting up a fund in your grandmother's name for elderly care advocacy, Vincent insisted. After she hung up, I sat in the quiet of my apartment, feeling something I hadn't felt in years, peace. The next morning, I drove to Grandma Nora's grave. The headstone was simple, just her name and dates, but someone had left fresh flowers, probably one of her friends from the senior center. I pulled out an envelope and placed it against the headstone. Inside was a printed transcript of all of Jordan's messages, every cruel word, every calculated manipulation. You were right, Grandma, I said to the morning air. Truth always comes for us eventually. I walked back to my car, leaving the envelope behind. Let the wind take it, let it scatter, let it disappear. The truth was already out there now, doing its work. For the first time in my life, I didn't look back.